Okay, so now we're going to go to the new stuff. And maybe I should ask for the new people, is there any questions about what I said that you would like clarified before we move on?
If you were to start that program today and we're at market highs, what would you be doing? Waiting for the next signal, or go with what you got right now?
You mean with, for example, 4 trades per year, and you come in the middle in between them? What do you do? Is that
like if I subscribe tonight and get on their website tomorrow and say, okay, what sector should I be involved with?
The quick answer to that is when you create a new strategy, over here this button turns red and says to acknowledge trade. And instead of having a check mark here, there's a little yellow triangle, and it has trade advice or other warnings. And particularly when you just create a new strategy and there's no history to it there, it recognizes that you're getting in from being nowhere. And it assumes you're getting in from a cash position.
Yeah.
And the algorithm goes and looks at the situation and looks at exactly what's going on with the fund that it's recommending. How is it trending compared to where it was at the beginning, and is it still looking good, and how much time is there to go? And if it's a Fidelity sector fund and they're going to hit you with 0.75% if you dump out 10 days from now, then it enters that into the equation. So all the trade advice for getting in, or special conditions that may occur other times, will show up with a little yellow triangle there. It's all automated and computed. Okay, so yes?
On the Fidelity Select funds, at the end of the month, when you get a new signal, if I'm a few days late before I hit the acknowledge button, does that impact when the algorithm says I'm allowed to trade it next month? Or does it just say, how does that work?
That's a good question. The strategy is the strategy, and it's our job to emulate what it's doing, because if we don't, then if we want to be 5 days late, we're not going to get what the strategy says. So the charts are always about the trade signals and how ideally you're supposed to actually execute them. Over here under this green H icon, the actual trade history, it'll say, well, it's your record of clicking the red button and saying when you actually did it. So the 2-part answer to your question is the next trade signal is going to be generated ideally. If it's a month-end trade, that trade signal will come, and then you'll see a little yellow thing over here, and it'll say, well, it's a 30-day fund, and you only had it for 28 days so far, and probably would be or would not be better for you to.
Okay, but the signal will come up, and I'll be notified, and then I can decide what to do about my 5-day lateness or whatever.
Yes, that'll show up in the morning over there.
All right, good.
Okay, so the new stuff is all found under that little blue information icon, which, excuse me, almost went ahead here. So for the new people, this is the action page where everything exists, where you define a strategy. Here's your 12 ticker symbols. What you usually do is you can import a strategy that somebody else sent you, or off the Hall of Fame page, or create your own. And if you click a blank spot, then a little screen comes up and allows you to pick from 15,000 different ticker symbols, mutual funds, ETFs, and stocks. So you can assemble your own strategy. But this is what's in. There's the buy and sell. This is about the trade information. Convenient link to any broker that you want, so you can just go over there, click, and go to their login page and keep going. And over here, then you can put any name on it, special notes like, oh, this is my wife's 401k. And these 4 icons, the blue S is for selecting a strategy. We've got a lot of standard strategies. You can select one off the list. And also provides a place where if you want to import one and somebody gave you a code, you click that thing and put that code in there, and then you have a copy of your strategy. This is the long, detailed history of the trade signals and performance of that strategy. This is your chart icon to go see a chart. And in here lives, what please? Information about the strategy. So this is where you change the name. There's a hold time there for the new people. There's a couple of selections over here. There's trade automatic, trade any day, weekend, month end, quarter end, and I think year end are there. And that tells the algorithm that it's limited to trading only under those circumstances. Trade automatic is effectively trade month end. There's a bunch of material on the site that tells you why mostly trade month end strategies do better. Trade automatic means trade month end and honor the specific hold time requirements of a mutual fund. Since you're doing trade month end, if you got Fidelity Select Sector funds, they're 30 days, it's pretty well aligned anyway, but there are some Fidelity country funds and some other funds out there that might have 60-day, 90-day, some even up to a year hold period. And we don't have that information on all funds. We got them for the Vanguard and Fidelity and a couple others. But if you're into some funds that have, excuse me, a hold time and you're not seeing it show on the system, just send the information to us, we'll put it in. There's no automated way to get that. People have to dig around, and there's 10,000 of them. And I like to sleep at night sometimes, so. Okay. Oh yeah, and here's the import-export strategy ID for this strategy. Here's where you put your notes. There's a new button here. Okay, new button, click. So we got all this new interesting stuff. And so there's charting options, storm guard options, white reference index, strategy tuning options, and a few more algorithm options. And if you look at all that stuff and go, you know, let's click this button and say restore standard options. So we do have people who don't want to know too much about what's in the engine compartment and would be happy just not to see this. But I know there's a number of you out there who are going to say, oh, look at that, decision shift days, I can move that around. And you'll spend 3 days with all your strategies seeing how it's best. I bet you 10% of you in here are going to be like that. I spend a lot of time that way. I've got 2 guys that know it's coming and they can't wait. And we'll talk about what that means here coming up. But let's click again. Okay, so here's just a standard strategy. There's a company, EADS North America, includes their 401k strategy, and I believe this just shows all normal stuff. You can see the storm guard things in there. Let's see. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of funds in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, all the funds are in there. And we got the S&P 500 here. Okay, click again. Okay, so now let's shift some things, and let's say we want to start our chart. Well, not all charts, but there's what I'm going to call the flex chart. As you recall, there's a 3-year, 10-year, and all-year charts that are made. And some people wanted to put that date somewhere else. And so we're going to call the 3-year chart the flex chart. In the prior slide, there was a 3 there. You can put a number of years or a specific date. So now we're going to put a specific date there. Now we're going to say we want less spaghetti. Does everybody know what less spaghetti might mean? I'll show you in a second. And we're going to disable storm guard. And for those of you who have done this before, the old way used to be to put a /I at the end of the name. /I meaning I want to use inverse funds, disable storm guard. The new way, you'll have a checkbox for that. We'll give you another storm guard I mentioned that will be out there later. here's a new way to do it. For now, you can do it either way. White reference indicator, right now we have sort of an automatic mode. You might have noticed that if you have a bond income type strategy, it'll plot the AGG bond there instead of the S&P 500. Kind of looks at the name and tries to guess what would be a better thing. So that's the default, is the automatic, but if you specifically want the S&P 500 or the AGG bond or the average of the things that you're using, you can click average and it'll put the average of all your ETFs or
Does that rebalance? How often does that rebalance if you're taking the average of all the tickers?
it's a daily.
Daily rebalance.
Yeah. And there's, I'll just say now, when you look at it on some on some strategies, you will think that the average line is out of place. And I can assure you that it's in the right place. And it's this act of very fast rebalancing and how fast things go up and down that causes it to look sometimes like it might not be quite right. And when you see one of those and you're worried about it, email me, and I'll help convince you. Okay, so we got those things checked. So let's go see what that chart looks like.
Could I ask you a question
Yeah.
first? Is there a minimum period of time for the flex chart? In other words, I want to do it over 8 months. Can I put a date 8 months back, or?
I think the limits are putting an integer of 20 in there for 20 years. On the high end, on the low end, it might be 30 days.
Okay.
And you can put a valid date in there. But this is the server. It's going to do what it's going to do. But when it passes this information off to the algorithm, it fixes some things up.
Okay.
It might come back slightly different.
Was it strategy one that was always end of month? Or all your strategy end of month?
They are, whatever you select here, there's a bunch of selections. This one says trade automatic, which means month end, but respect individual fund things. But other than that, there's trade any day, meaning trade any day, one surpasses another. Trade only on weekends if there's a new leader, trade only month end if there's a leader, trade only quarter end, and trade only year end. So you can have any of those. But the predominant best is pretty much month end trading, and
You can't do the 15th or the 15th of the month or something like that?
you can now if you're an advanced guy.
Okay.
We'll get to that down here. Okay, let's look at the chart for this. Okay, so our little smooth areas went away. They're a little jiggly. I think he had a bond fund in there, so it switched over to some bonds in there. But the smooth StormGuard thing went away. We have less spaghetti. Look, there's only 4 strands of spaghetti in there. And that's not really important when these things all have different starting points. But sometimes when you look at the 3-year chart and look at 12 strands of spaghetti plus a yellow one and a white one, so that's what less spaghetti is. And you have a button over here that now has that date on it. So let's click that button. Click! Click!
Come on, Jim.
I was studying that because.
Okay, so here's a case where now they are all together, and these are the top 4 of the trend that get painted on here, and the others are knocked off when you do the less spaghetti. And the start date is almost that date, but not quite. And there's some technical reasons for that I don't want to spend time on, but it'll always be really close. Okay, so we got that. We got, oh yes, and we selected AGG bond, so AGG bond is in here now. Okay, next please. So those were some easy little things. So where are we going here? Okay, so now we're going to change strategies, and so we're just going to look at a fidelity strategy. It's going to have standard StormGuard, automatic there, and we're not gonna be there yet until the next one. But let's look at the next chart, just to see this.
So this is the way it would be now with the current release.
Yes, in fact, I made that chart this morning.
Great.
I think it was this morning, May 15th, yep. And so we see some good things here in the 30-ish, and the little risk-reward thing here sitting around the 30-ish mark, and that kind of character to it. Next slide. Just wanted to see how it is now.